Love is like a dagger. Is that right, Loki? Well, let me give you an analogy that sums up what I think about your show. Loki is like a relationship. You start out on the honeymoon phase. You're so happy, you're enjoying each other's company. Everything is perfect. Everything is going so well that you think, how could this possibly go wrong? Then comes the first fight, and you realize we got a problem here. Not one that's unsolvable, certainly not, but one that makes you realize that maybe things weren't so perfect after all. But you're hopeful. You think we can patch things up again and ride those highs again. And sure enough, pretty soon after that fight, you're back on the high, even better than before, and you think to yourself, we are unstoppable. And then you come back down to earth, and the fights start to happen a little bit more frequently. And you think to yourself, this isn't going as well as it used to be. But maybe it was because I just had too high of an expectation, and maybe now they're just not being met. And maybe this is just how it's gonna be. Maybe it just wasn't meant to last. And you reach that 50-50 point, the fork in the road where you say it's either going to make it and we're going to ride or die, we're going to make it forever, or it's going to have to end. And you don't know where it's going to go. It's 50-50. And then just like that, without any warning, it's over. It wasn't bittersweet, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't amicable either, it was just over. And you're forced to move on to the next thing. And you know in your heart of hearts that this was for the best. That when you look back at this relationship in the future, when you're in a truly better one, you're going to realize that all this happened for the better, and it was all part of one big plan. That things happen for a reason. But in the moments right after the breakup, which we're in right now, right after it's over, all you feel is disappointment. And that's how I feel about Loki. How'd it do, guys? Welcome back to... Not gonna lie, it was 12 a.m. and that really woke me up. I was a little bit sleepy, but that really woke me up. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to do so and join the Access Blockbusters crew. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to hear some more content, more in-depth talk about Black Widow and Loki, then tune in this Friday to the Access Blockbusters pod on the YouTube channel and on Spotify where we talk about all of those things. Stay tuned for that. Let's talk about the season finale of Loki. So let's not waste any time. Let's talk about Kang. Look, understanding that I knew it was a possibility that he would be appearing. In fact, I would have put money on it, not necessarily being the big villain. Like I said before in a previous episode, I would have thought he would have appeared in a post-credit scene, but I was pretty sure he was showing up in the series. But regardless of who it ended up being, who was in control of the TVA, all I wanted was a satisfying conclusion to this series. Now, skipping ahead to the end, I mean, we are getting a season 2, and so before anybody assaults me in the comments saying, hey, look, they didn't have to answer all the questions because they were setting up a season 2. They left loose plot threads because it's season 2. Loki is left on a cliffhanger because season 2. That's totally fine, and that's not what I'm saying at all. Because yes, that's what TV shows do. TV shows set up some questions, and they usually answer the big ones, and then they leave some unanswered for the next season to set up some other storylines. That's what they do in Loki. Like what happens with Ravonna Renslayer? What happens with Mobius? Why doesn't Mobius remember Loki? Like these are all good questions that'll lead into a season 2. Unfortunately, what we have to remember is that's not how the MCU works. Because if rumors are to be believed, Loki is not appearing in season 2 next. He is appearing in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I get it. You know, us hardcore fans, we're gonna watch everything. We're gonna understand the storyline. It's not our problem. But we are absolutely in the vast minority of the audience. There are people on Disney Plus who just wanted to see Loki, and they're gonna see season 2 without seeing anything else, and they're gonna be so confused. Because unfortunately, what Loki ended up being is a bridge. It didn't really have a story to tell on its own, and it just ended up being set up for the rest of the MCU. That's what's disappointing. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying episode 6 was horrendous, and here's why. I've been a person who's been saying for a long time that there is a huge difference between concept and execution. Just because something makes sense on paper doesn't mean it works on the big screen or the small screen. Just because it logically fills out plot holes doesn't mean it's good. So for everybody in the YouTube comment sections who are saying, oh, Kang acts like that because he's insane, I don't care. I honestly don't care. He can be insane. He can be whatever he wants to be. The execution didn't work. For me, at least. If you legitimately liked Kang in this episode, I have no problem with that. But for those people who are out there trying to say, well, you're wrong for not liking Kang because he's insane in the plot, and that's why he's acting like that. No, stop. Right there, stop. There is a difference between concept and execution, and I just didn't like the performance. That's it. And yes, I do understand this is a legitimate thing. I do understand that Jonathan Majors was not playing the actual Kang the Conqueror. He was playing some sort of lunatic Kang. I understand. But can we stop focusing on the whole MCU in its entirety and just focus on this one show? And can I just say that I didn't like Kang in this one episode of this one show? Just because I hated Thor in Thor 1 doesn't mean I hate Thor. It's absolutely not true. And another thing I'm perfectly okay with is the fact that there wasn't a ton of action in the finale and it was exposition. That's not something that I'm bothered by. In fact, that was one of the pitfalls of the WandaVision finale. They opted for just action, which didn't mean anything. Unfortunately, this finale took it the other way. That entire exposition was basically just for Kang. And it had nothing to do with Loki and Sylvie, really. I mean, it kind of does because they have to make the decision, which we'll get to that in a second. I think that was one of the better parts of the episode. But I was reading this article before I made this video, and it was really true. The entire time Kang is giving his exposition, it's about Kang. It's not about Loki. And this show isn't called Kang, it's called Loki. And I know everybody's freaking out about the ending, and I'm really happy for you guys. And in fact, I'm excited too. You know I'm excited for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But it just felt like they used this show to do other things. And that's what WandaVision did that this show didn't. Even though the finale was kind of botched, I completely agree with that. Didn't matter. Because at the end of the day, that ending scene where Wanda says goodbye to Vision, that's the show. That's the entire show wrapped up. And even though they teased the Scarlet Witch, and even though they've teased Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it was still WandaVision. This show isn't Loki. This show is half Loki, half MCU setup for the future. And you know how much I love episodes 1, 2, and 4. So yeah, am I frustrated? Can you tell? I am. But look, it's coming from a place of me having these super lofty expectations, and you guys heard the analogy at the beginning. It's true. I mean, episodes 1 and 2, we were riding a high. Episode 3, I was like, this is off the rails a little bit. Episode 4 came right back, and then 5 and 6 kind of just derailed it again. And we didn't even talk about the TVA stuff in this episode. It wasn't even good. Like, the showrunners think, oh, we care so much about what happens to Ravonna Renslayer next. I don't care about Ravonna Renslayer, honestly. I don't care about her search for free will. I don't care about that character at all. She was really nothing to me. I care about Mobius. And now you're going to tell me in Loki Season 2 that Mobius's memory is gone and we have to start this all over again? I mean, going back to that relationship analogy, it's like I know there's a chance we can get back together again in the future, and I'm sort of looking forward to that, but also scared, you know? I just wanted a good Loki show. That's what the MCU is. The MCU is best when it's not setting up other things, when it's doing its own self-contained stories that happen to lead into the next Marvel movies. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 isn't about Thanos. It's about the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it revolves around the Power Stone, which is an Infinity Stone, but that's not the point. It would be like if the first 75% of Guardians of the Galaxy was the normal movie and the last 25 was Thanos coming out of nowhere and trying to get the Power Stone. That's what this feels like to me. And look, does any of this negate the episodes that I loved, episodes 1, 2, and 4? Absolutely not. I loved those episodes, and I would wager to say that episodes 1 and 4 are probably in the top 3 or 4 of all of the MCU TV episodes thus far, period. But we have to judge this holistically as well. And at the end of the day, while, look, I understand Kang is not going to be that version of Kang. He's probably going to be more menacing and calculating in the future. I just didn't like Kang. And the whole episode was basically Kang. And the multiverse, I like the multiverse, but it wasn't really about Loki. And on a final note, here's what I'll say. This show was supposedly about Loki finding his identity and having this character growth. And he had this beautiful character arc throughout the first 5 episodes. He was growing. He was learning to move past his villainous Avengers self. And he was learning to love somebody. Sylvie. Even though I didn't really root for that relationship, it happened, and he was learning to love both himself, literally and figuratively, and Sylvie. You guys, I wanted Loki to be so good. I really did. And I, to this very second, as I'm recording this video, am trying in my head to just manipulate this episode so that it's good in my mind. Like, I'm desperately right now trying to like this episode. And hey, I watched it at 12 a.m. I didn't have a chance to see it again. Maybe if I see it again, I'll love it. But right now, this Loki series, I honestly equate this show to Avengers Age of Ultron. I enjoyed both very much. I like Loki a lot, in fact, a lot more than Age of Ultron, I think, and I do like Age of Ultron. But at the end of the day, it ended up being that a good chunk of their content was simply to set up future content for the MCU in the future. And look, guys, if it was just in a vacuum, if it was just Loki Season 1, and maybe all of this is unfounded, because maybe Season 2 of Loki is going to be fantastic, it's going to pick up right where we left off, and Kang is going to be the huge villain of Loki Season 2. Because, again, if this is all in a vacuum, and if it's just Loki, while they didn't really have the most satisfying conclusion to Season 1, I would be so excited for Season 2. Because we have more questions to answer, we have more plot to go through. But it's honestly because of the fact that this show exists in the MCU that, I don't know, maybe they're just going to use Season 2 to bridge other movies together. That self-contained story that was WandaVision, it's not here in Loki. And maybe I just missed that. I'm not sure. So anyways, after that rant, what did you guys think of Loki episode 6 and the series as a whole? Did you guys enjoy episode 6? Did you guys enjoy the Kang reveal? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and if you want to check out some more videos, check out the videos on the screen right now. Check out Access Blockbusters Pod on Friday. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.